Oh, what's up, guys? Gun here. Happy Saturday, October 26th, 2019. Man, we are knocking on the door of my favorite time of year, the holidays, Thanksgiving, and especially Christmas. But we do have Halloween this week, so that sounds fun, man. Weekend is here. Hopefully, you weekenders are ready to relax a little bit, enjoy some Saturday basketball, and prep for the NFL weekend. And hopefully, you make a lot of money playing DFS. NBA Week 1 coming to an end, but it has been super enjoyable on my end, super profitable, and hopefully, you guys have been able to leave with more than you enter with the last week as well. A massive night for the subscribers at RunDFS.com last night. It was just huge. Hope maybe we'll brag about some of the winners on the Twitch stream this afternoon. But if you guys haven't joined the VIP crew yet, and you're looking for something to get you over the edge, get to that next step, man, I can't recommend enough, and maybe not specific. Like this doesn't have to be a ad for Run DFS, but I can't recommend enough getting into a group of sharp people who have played for years, maybe some that do it for a living, and are constantly watching games, film, reading articles, research, beat writers, listening to Coach speak, and just helping you become a sharper player. And if you can find a community like that, man, you could definitely grow as a DFS player. And I would like to believe that my community is one of the good ones. So if you guys are looking for a community to join, man, check out RunDFS.com. Go test out a week pass. This is a great time to get a week pass. You'll get NFL coverage tomorrow as well, plus the full week of NBA. Every day before lock, we do the VIP voice chats for basketball, and then usually on Saturday nights, we get together to discuss our player pool for the NFL Sunday. And then, of course, before the NFL Sunday lock, a lot of people are in voice chat. So, really good community over there. Come be part of it, man. Come plant yourself. And we have so many people that just read and listen in. You ain't even got to be a talker or a writer, man. You can just be a lurker, and we love you just as much. We had, 9 games last night on the Friday slate. So, it was an eventful one. A lot of high scores, a couple of low scores from some letdowns. You guys let me know. How about this? Some of you guys, we do the awards to start the video. We do the beast, the bust, the value, and the shock. Maybe you should pause the video and go write your 4 down in the comments below, and then come back, hit play, see if we match up here, because I think some of you guys were tweeting at me on Twitter, sharing some of the bust, but also sharing some of the beast. So I'm curious to see if you guys are in line with what we're about to hand out. So without further ado, before we take a look at today's slate for FanDuel and DraftKings, let's take one last look at last night's slate for FanDuel and DraftKings. And let's hand out some awards. Beast of the night, easy one, man. Carl Anthony Towns, the big cat. Ernie Ladd, absolutely unstoppable in that game against the Charlotte Hornets. You know what's wild? That game actually got off to like a 15-2. It was like a 13-2. It was a big double-digit run to start the game for the Hornets, and they ended up losing by 20 plus. Carthy Towns was just a matchup nightmare for the Hornets. Hornets, of course, without Cody Zeller, they could do absolutely nothing to stop Towns. Towns 37 real points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. It was a grown man playing with children in the park, and he led the entire slate in fantasy scoring. On DraftKings, he got you 82 and a quarter. On FanDuel, he got you 83. You played him. You had a great start. He was 30% owned. Was definitely above the field on him. And did his thing, man. So hopefully you guys had plenty of cat last night to set the table for the rest of the night. Let's talk about the bust of the night, man. Let's go to OKC at home against the Washington Wizards. My man Chris Paul, he dropped a 40 bomb and a much tougher matchup against the Utah Jazz. So you think he would curtain call in his home debut for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but he did not do that. In fact, he kind of took a step away for someone else that we'll talk about in a minute. But 7,200 on DraftKings. I was way over the field on him. I actually think he was 20% owned in on the tournaments I was in, and I had about 38%. So I was over the field. I thought he was pretty safe. Thankfully, I was able to overcome his dud and still walk away with a big time profit on both sites. But he's absolutely my boss tonight. 12 fantasy points on DraftKings at 7,200, 9.4 FanDuel points at 8,400. That is, my friends, not what you want. And let's talk about one of the reasons I overcame my Chris Paul exposure. Frank Kaminsky. He was my tier 1 core value play, and he delivered. 3,300 on DraftKings, basically 10 extra, 34.75 DKP. Same song and dance on FanDuel, $100 above min price, 31.7 fantasy points. A huge linchpin in all of my lineups. I think he was my second highest owned player on DraftKings, so it absolutely worked out. Loved it, and he helped me out. Hopefully, he helped you guys out. I'm not going to victory lap him versus Daniel Tice, but I had 0% Daniel Tice because I had all of the Frank Kaminsky. Daniel Tice, unfortunately, for his owners, got injured, did come back, but didn't put up quite the night that Kaminsky did. And then, of course, that Phoenix and Denver game got some extra innings to kind of pad it. So I'll take I'll take a dub on playing Kaminsky, but oof, rough if you maybe had none, because he was an excellent bridge to get some of those high studs in. And let's talk about the shock of the night. CP3 bust of the night. Well, his teammate was kind of the shock of the night. 6,500 on DraftKings kind of felt like a price that we would never pay for SGA. SGA was a 3-4K guard for the Los Angeles Clippers last season. What the heck happened? He's good. He's really good. He was one of the leaders in team usage in the preseason. Has been taking a ton of shots, and tonight, while Chris Paul absolutely let us down for fantasy, SGA went off. He had 28 real points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. Massive play, shot 10 for 17, 6 from 8 from the free throw line, and 2 for 4 from downtown. Played with big time spunk, big time fire. Took advantage of the matchup despite the Wizards beating the Thunder by 12. And I think the Thunder were 8-point favorites last time I looked. So big time win for the Wizards there, and big time dud for not only the Thunder, but as mentioned previously, Chris Paul. If you had some SGA, shout out to you. I had about 9% out of 100 lineups. So you know, I took the plunge at 6.5K. Now we need to decide what's our cutoff, because I think SGA, with this type of usage, with this type of volume going forward, it could be a mid 7K player. And there are some peripherals in there that kind of help this case here. So how much SGA did you guys have? Let me know. All right, let's talk about today's slate. Before I dive in and preview each game, I want to remind you guys that today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central, I will be live at twitch.tv/Gundacker99. You guys have made me a happy man this week. I took the plunge. I made the move, made the risky move to move our live streams to Twitch while keeping content here on the YouTube channel. I don't know what it is, man. I just feel like I haven't been growing as much lately here on YouTube. So I thought we could do more stuff at Twitch, be more flexible, and maybe have some more fun. I'm able to get away with playing music over there. We could watch videos if we had to, and we can hang out a little bit more. And there's a lot more interaction options that we're slowly adding to the stream, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the streams, and I've gotten nothing but great feedback for the Twitch stream. So while I've made a commitment to keep giving you guys content here on this YouTube channel, if you guys want to hang out with us live with some hot mics, twitch.tv/Gundacker99. Today, 3 p.m. Eastern is the stream. We'll be diving much deeper than what I'll do in this video. Game by game. It gets a little bit more colorful. have my co-host Raj, and as we go forward, hopefully we'll have a couple other co-hosts to talk some plays. So if you guys haven't never been on Twitch, you don't have an account, take a minute, make one, follow the channel. You'll get a notification when I go live. You can download the app on your phone, your mobile device, or you can just use the desktop browser on your desktop from the Department of Redundancy department. So link in the description below. Keep on keeping on, man. We have kind of been sitting around 40, 50 viewers for those streams. And the last couple years here on the YouTube channel, we were sitting around 200 to 300 live viewers. So a lot of people might be down on those numbers, but I'm really encouraged that just about a quarter of the live viewers in NBA Week 1 have kind of shaken things up and checked out the live streams over there. So I'm confident and hopeful that we'll continue to build off of that because you guys are that awesome. You just really are. Let's talk about today's slate. I'm going to open up the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. And real quick, we're going to talk about each game, but I won't go as in-depth now as I will later. Still waiting on some more news to come out. It's a Saturday. It might be a little slower news day anyway. A lot of teams on night 2 of a back-to-back, and this might be the first night of the year that we have to juggle so much back-to-back hesitation news and whatnot, because we're seeing a lot of teams pop up with a couple of cute tags, a couple of banged-up players, and a couple of other variables that you don't often think about, such as tonight the Suns play the Clippers, and I'll talk about that game later, but the Suns played in Denver last night, the high altitude, which actually went to overtime. They were shorthanded as it was. Now they got to travel, readjust to a new altitude, basically go near sea level in Los Angeles, right? And then play against the number 1 defense in basketball. So that's a big overnight adjustment. So stuff like that you might want to start keeping in your mind for basketball. Anyway, game numero uno, Philadelphia 76ers up against the Detroit Pistons. Who's ready for some Detroit basketball? Detroit, already a laundry list of news and notes to watch. We'll get cranked up with the tippy top. As you know, Blake Griffin still going to be out. The other one to really watch here is Reggie Jackson. He's been dealing with lower back tightness. He suffered a back injury on Wednesday. It was bothering him in the first half on Thursday, and eventually he had to tap out in the second half of Wednesday's game. And if he does play here, he's likely to be limited for at least the next couple of days. So it'll be a tough player to trust. And if the coach decides to just go ahead and straight up rest him here against the Sixers, it could open up some potential value in a guy like Derrick Rose, maybe even a Tim Frazier. So that'll be one of the things we're watching. If you guys are taking notes, pencil down Reggie Jackson news. It seems like at best he'd be limited, and at worst he'll just straight up not play. Regardless, Andre Drummond should continue to lead the Pistons in usage and possibly minutes. However, this is probably the toughest. This is definitely the toughest matchup he's seen in this young season. As Al Horford and Joel Embiid could probably match up better than most other teams ever could against a guy like Drummond, and maybe force the rest of this team to be the reason that the Pistons keep this game close. I was looking on some sites, and none of the bookies I look at had this game online. But I did see Vegas odds kind of list the Sixers at 5.5, 6-point favorites. Definitely think that line has wiggle room depending on how this game shakes out. I would also say that in short sample size, it certainly feels like Reggie Jackson feeds Andre Drummond a little bit more than Derrick Rose does. So if Reggie Jackson misses, and we'll research this as much as possible later. We really only have a game and a half, 2-game sample size, and probably not a whole lot of overlap between Rose and Drummond. But I am definitely curious about what Drummond's actual usage rate is with Derrick Rose running point versus Reggie, and what we should project it to be going forward, as D Rose tends to be a little ball hoggy at times, which is not a bad thing because he's been playing good basketball, but it also might impede Drummond's ability to pay off 9.5K in an already tough matchup. So keeping that in the back of my head, already kind of feeling a little bit low on Drummond. I will concede that the Pistons defense has been a little soft to opposing bigs. So I would be curious in Horford and Embiid. Embiid is coming into this game with a Q tag of his own. What else is new? But we'll pull up the official note that I have on that as of now, which is about 1, 2 in the morning Central Time. So we'll be watching this throughout the day. He's dealing with a right ankle sprain. He did not practice Friday. He's a questionable for Saturday's game against the Pistons. Only played 23 minutes in their opener. The sprained ankle, I guess, came in that game. And in years past, the Sixers have basically bubble wrapped Embiid at any sign of injury. So I would say that there's a stronger than average chance that Embiid could be protected here. And then we might see a kind of a weird lineup for the Sixers. We could see them potentially, move Al Horford to the 5 and play small, but also Philadelphia's depth here at the 5 has Kyle O'Quinn, and we all love playing some point per minute Kyle O'Quinn if he can stay out of foul trouble. Mike Scott's also on their roster. He's dealing with a left ankle sprain, also listed on the injury report with a Q tag. And then I guess technically they have Jonah Bolden. I always have to check on guys like Jonah Bolden and Norvell being actually on the roster and not like in the G League. But Bolden is somebody we saw last season get some minutes here. If Embiid is out, I would increase my interest in Ben Simmons at 8,600. And by the way, the fact that this game doesn't have a current line for books right now, I don't think that's because of Reggie Jackson. I think that's because of Joel Embiid. So they might kind of be setting themselves up for Embiid to be missing this game. And like I said, without Embiid, Ben Simmons gets the biggest bump for me. We'll go to statmuse.com. Ben Simmons usage without Joel Embiid. Let's go last 50 games just to get a little bit of sample size. 24% usage rate, but he is averaging 34 minutes a game in those games, 18 points, 9 rebounds, almost 8 assists, so he's almost averaging a triple-double. We already know that he can do a little bit of everything, so they would not really have an answer for Ben Simmons here. And I'd be interested in him. Also might be interested in Josh Richardson, who might assume a little bit more of natural guard duties if they do decide to stretch out Ben Simmons, who could play positionless basketball and kind of play the 4 or the 5 if they absolutely had to, because Kyle Quinn is not a stranger to getting in foul trouble. So right now I'm just kind of like fantasy playing this game in my head. I think it's just healthier to wait till later in the day where we have some more concrete information and see what happens then. And kind of see where Vegas put this line at, right? So thanks to watch Reggie Jackson and Joel Embiid, and then of course watch where Vegas sets this spread and how many points Embiid is worth. Next game on the docket, the Atlanta Hawks hosting the Orlando Magic. So this game's going to be 30 minutes after the main slate locks, so we do get some time to sit around and ruin all of the lineups we made for some late swap. Yeah, Magic are in a really good spot at really good prices. The Atlanta Hawks, as we know, are going to run a really fast-paced style of basketball and a really sloppy style of basketball and a really poor defense. The Magic don't tend to run as fast, but they do play better defense, and they also have some guys that I like in faster matchups. If we go to the Hollinger Stats tab from ESPN, we only have a couple games of sample size to feed us this information, but Atlanta right now is listed as closer to middle of the pack in pace, which I think actually they have Atlanta as the second worst team for pace. I don't think that's going to be the case going forward, but we'll see. Trae Young was an absolute beast against Detroit. He would be somebody that I look at on the Atlanta side. He's 8,800, dropped 62 and a quarter against Detroit. Almost had a triple-double with rebounds. I don't bank on near double-digit rebounds against the Magic here, but I certainly think a double-double with points and assists is a realistic range of outcomes. I would also say that Trae Young has been known to turn the ball over a little bit. He had 6 turnovers in that Detroit game. Last year, he was top 5 in turnover percentage. So maybe a couple of these pickpocket guys on the Magic might help you pay off. A couple names that stick out to me, just in general, though, Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic individually are underpriced for this matchup. I actually have uh, a crush on playing Aaron Gordon in fast-paced matchups. The last couple bigs against the Hawks, they caught Markieff Morris on night 2 of a back-to-back, and then we saw, I think that was it, right? Who else did the Hawks play? Let me see, Trey. Yeah, that's all they played is Detroit. So I think we can trust the bigs to succeed against this Hawks front court. Gordon, I like him in fast-paced matchups. So I had some problems working with StatMuse Live yesterday, so hopefully I don't take a chance on using StatMuse here and get stalled out. But let's type in Aaron Gordon. How about most DKP by game log last 10 or just put that most DKP by game log and kind of see what pops up. You see an 80 bomb against OKC. I just want 29 or 2018. So against 2018, dropped 60 bomb against Phoenix. Phoenix, of course, has been a top team in pace. 2018, Detroit. Detroit has been low key bad against bigs. On In March, he did a 50 bomb. Lakers were a fast-paced team. He dropped 50. Atlanta 48. At the end of the 2017 season, or excuse me, the beginning of the 2017 season. So he's a guy I enjoy in pace-up spots because his fast break ability to kind of break away and dunk, kind of like why I like Zach LaVine last night, is heightened. And I think 6,400 just leaves a lot of wiggle room because there's not a whole lot of range of outcomes for me that he completely cripples me at 6,400 in this matchup. As I say that, he put up 22 against Cleveland, right? But I think it's just, I think it's there. I think he gets more than 2 rebounds. I think he gets double-digit points. So I'll play some Gordon here. I don't know if I'll stamp him with the tier 1 just yet, but I like him a lot. And then of course, Vucci Gang. Spend 10 racks on a new chain. 8,300 for Vooch in this matchup just seems borderline disrespectful. Put up 41 and a half in a easy double-double against Cleveland. Like I said, Atlanta's going to push the pace. Cleveland last year was one of the slowest teams in basketball. So if they continue that stretch into this game, and if you look at the pace stats, they're tied for 3rd slowest team with Orlando because of that's the game that they played against each other. I think this game creates more possession, more upside, and Vucevic is a guy that can drop 50+ fantasy points, so I like him a lot. Rested here, both teams should be rested for the most part. I'm probably not going to go too wild with some Magic players outside of Gordon and Vucevic, but names that I would have in my back pocket is Evan Fournier. I don't mind him here. Maybe he can get us a couple extra peripherals like steals and rebounds. And then how about Terrence Ross at 4,400 on DraftKings? He's a guy that seemed like once every couple of weeks was great to help you in tournaments. And at 4,400, in this matchup, I could certainly see him exceeding 20 fantasy points and maybe knocking on the door of 30+ fantasy points if everything goes well. 2 steals in opening night, 10 points, 4 boards. He can certainly build on that, and we've seen him do so last season. Last season, of course, they didn't have Markelle Fultz, and they're trying to get him some minutes and run and some usage. In the opening game, he had 23.5 fantasy points with 12 real points, 6 assists. So there is a little bit of difference between this year's Terrence Ross situation versus last year's, but I still like them both. I think I'll scatter them early on as some back pocket value plays for this matchup. And that's it for now. The Hawks rotation seems like it's going to be a little deeper, even with Crabbe and Parsons out. DeAndre Hunter, DeAndre Bembry, Evan Turner, guys like that. kind of rotating on the second string there. Kevin Herter's been playing on minutes restriction, so none of those guys are going to float to the top with a high level of confidence. And until I'm done sweeping through every game, I'm not really going to entertain them too deep now. But that's what the Twitch stream is for later today, to dive a little bit deeper. Boston Celtics at the New York Knicks. Both teams on night 2 of a back-to-back. The Celtics played the Raptors last night, and I gotta say, man, I kind of disrespected the Celtics and Raptors game from a fantasy perspective, but they actually came through with some very viable plays. I just kind of didn't like it with a gut feeling. I didn't expect it to be high scoring or anything like that, and it wasn't. The Celtics put up 112 points yesterday, and the Raptors put up 106. But what we did see, and we'll talk about it in the Raptors game coming up, but we did see both teams, both starters play a ton of minutes. Just for an example, on the Celtics side, Jason Tatum played 35 minutes. Jaylen Brown played 38 minutes. Kemba Walker played 36 minutes. Gordon Hayward played 37 minutes. So essentially, outside of the starters, or excuse me, outside of the starting center, because they've been down Enes Kanter and Daniel Tice got injured, they all played a lot of minutes, and minutes equal money in NBA DFS. So they were able to surpass what seemed like a not ceiling or not upside spot, because they played such deep minute counts. And it's early in the season. Maybe Brad Stevens has to use them deep tomorrow. The front court was Robert Williams, Grant Williams, Daniel Tice. They kind of traded out the center spot, but there was not much off of the bench other than those guys. Marcus Smart got 28 minutes as essentially their sixth man. Brad Wanamaker 10 minutes, Semi Ojeleye 4 minutes. So really tight rotation for Brad Stevens early on, and we'll talk about the Raptors being in a similar spot. Not tight rotations with no predictability. Hello, New York Knicks. Dave Fizdale did what Dave Fizdale does, and that's trick us, right? Yesterday, Julius Randle played 39 minutes. We kind of expected him to be the one safe guy from a minute count. Ironically, in 39 minutes, he wasn't able to do much of value for fantasy. He only hit 32 and a quarter, 8,100 on DraftKings. Just that, it didn't do nothing for you in tournaments. RJ Barrett led the team in fantasy points yesterday, 36 minutes, had 16 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, and 6 steals, which will do wonders for particularly FanDuel, as that's 18 fantasy points right there. So 6 steals seems like something that we don't bank on here. Alonzo Trier, who didn't start. They started Emmanuel Mudiay, played 23 minutes and basically went 10x his value, 32 and a quarter on a $3,400 price tag. Shot 6 from 7, 3 from 4 from downtown. And then Mitchell Robinson came in, played 17 minutes, 6.7 boards. So the whole situation for the Knicks is a scary mess for me. And every slate, we're gonna be tempted to want to go and chase somebody who succeeded the previous game, and this is what we did last year. And it does seem like every slate, a Nick or two is a valuable commodity for DFS, but it is so hard for me to call it pre-flop. And I think outside of a couple of chances on Julius Randle, I can't see myself willingly full fading Randle on every slate if he's going to get close to 40 minutes. But yeah, for the most part, yikes. This game has a low total. Boston, a decent favorite at -5. Knicks almost came back and beat the Nets yesterday, but Nets hung on. I'm gonna consider the Celtics here, just because of this potential minute situation. I don't know if DraftKings was able to adjust accordingly, but if these Celtics players are going to be like the Tom Thibodeau team and play 35, 37 minutes, I'll take a shot on 5K Jaylen Brown against the Knicks, and Kemba in the Garden, Gordon Hayward under 6K, Jason Tatum 6,500. I don't love the back-to-back part of it, but I think these price points are probably a little soft if those minute points are going to be what we should expect from the Celtics going forward, especially in the short term with their center situation being so fluffy. You guys already knew Enes Kanter was hurt. I'll go and read the reports here. Enes Kanter did not play. I don't know what his status here. Stevens did say that he would sit out this game as well yesterday. So we expect him to be out yesterday and today. And then Daniel Tice drew the start yesterday, missed all 7 shots from the field, and he played just 15 minutes because he tweaked his left ankle in the first half. But he went to the back, I guess got taped up, and he started the second half. So poor shooting night for him. Opportunities were there for him to pay off his salary. He got a pretty significant increase in price, almost $5K for Tice. I need 30 fantasy points. I'm not taking the risk, not even if there's a fire. And Robert Williams is another guy you can kind of look at here if you're really, really, really desperate. But I don't think I'm going there today. So we'll dive a little deeper into this game later. Marcus Morris. If you chase his game one, I had a little bit of him. I think I had like 11% of him yesterday. He was a terrible, terrible fantasy play at the end of the night. But for the most part, I'm just looking at Celtics here just because of minutes, right? Raptors at the Bulls. Next game on the docket. Raptors. Since I talked about the Celtics and their minute counts, the Raptors had pretty deep minute counts too. Now that was something that we saw from night one. And I was like, oh, they all played a lot of minutes. And then I just kind of brushed it off because there was overtime. But like Lowry played 45 minutes in the opening night. That was a game that went to OT. They didn't go to overtime yesterday against Boston. He played 40 minutes. Put up almost 50 DraftKings points. So like his point per minute isn't like some insane production rate. And the same with all of them. Pascal Siakam also put up a pretty solid fantasy point game. All things considered, dropped 46 fantasy points. Did it in 36 minutes. You know, I'll take the 46 to 85. It's not make or break in a slate. OG Anunoby, he played 38 minutes yesterday after playing 36 minutes opening night. So you kind of see where I'm getting at here is the Raptors, kind of like the Celtics, in short sample size. We're still, a couple of games in. These guys are playing deep minutes, and you might remember a couple of years ago, or really, beginning of last season, the season prior, Tom Thibodeau and the Timberwolves, I would stack the T-Wolves just because their starters were playing 36 minutes. Same when, it was with the Bulls, when guys are going to give me a shot at 35 to 38 minutes in meaningless regular season games and average to plus matchups, and even some negative matchups. You can offset matchup for minutes, man. You really could. You play them. So that Celtics and Raptors game, if that happens again in a month, and they're still playing 36 to 38 minutes, I'll probably be more on it than I would be yesterday because I just didn't expect that. So the process was right. It's just the minutes were a little shocking. But here we go. Raptors on night 2 of a back-to-back. As are the Bulls. Bulls coming from Memphis, playing the fast-paced game out there. Raptors coming from Boston. So many games on night 2 of a back-to-back. If you guys are kind of new to DFS, normally in the middle of a season, if you have 2 big slates in a row, back-to-back conditions, back-to-back can create some weird stuff. You might say it's early in the season, they're ready for this, but it's also early in the season, and maybe your body's not fully adjusted to overnight traveling. There's different temperatures all across the country. Of course, there's different altitudes, different situations, different strength of matchups here. So just always kind of be grain of salty when it comes to a slate featuring so many teams on night 2. Anyway, Raptors all starting 5, in my opinion, are probably in play. I would probably start with Siakam. So far, so good for bigs against the Bulls. Last night, Jaren Jackson Jr. was able to be a fantastic play. And in game 1, Who was it in game one? It was Cat, wasn't it? No, it wasn't Cat. It was I'm trying to find Siakam. Siakam in game one. Why don't I have that up? I thought I had that up on my second screen here, but apparently I do not. So let's just go to DraftKings instead. Marketing. It was Charlotte. So in game one, Charlotte had PJ Williams and Coach Zeller was in the front court that game. PJ Williams did fine. Yeah, so it's a good matchup for me. So Siakam should be able to build off of his performance in night one. And he did just fine for the most part last night against the Celtics. A scrappy 6x, 5.5, 6x value performance on a slate that featured a couple 60 bombs and 70 bombs with a lot of 3K guys doing well. Not usually going to be the reason you win a tournament, but it's also not going to be the reason you don't cash. So if we can amplify the matchup a little bit here, and we can, Siakam should be able to do just fine against these Chicago Bulls. So I like him a lot. Lowry, Van Vliet's in a better spot here than he was yesterday. Yesterday he was kind of the odd man out on guys who you could live with in terms of what they did for their salary. He was also under 6K. Kyle Lowry here, 7,300. Again, you're going to play 40 minutes for me, buddy. 40 minutes against the Chicago Bulls. I will take my chances. And this all could just go to waste here. Nick Nurse decides to rest somebody on night two of a back-to-back. In years past, we've seen him rest Lowry versus Kawhi or Lowry versus DeRozan. So we're just speculating at this point. But this is all speaking from a mindset that they're all playing and going off the minutes that we've already seen them run. Serge Ibaka also kind of a back pocket play. I think he had 30 fantasy points yesterday. On the Bulls side, Lauri Markkanen wasn't much yesterday for fantasy, but it's because Zach LaVine was able to show up and show out. And LaVine's a guy I think is going to take over for the Bulls more games than he's not, and definitely more games that play up in pace than don't. I have been told that the Raptors are probably going to be a little bit faster paced than maybe we want to give them credit for. I didn't overreact to night one because it was the Pelicans, and then yesterday they caught Boston. But I have been told that Nurse is kind of trying to up the tempo just a little bit, so that might be another benefit here against the Bulls. So give me a couple shares of these Raptors. On the Bulls, I got no warm and fuzzies here, but I don't mind taking stabs on LaVine and Markkanen. But probably more so LaVine. Markkanen is curious just because of Tatum, what Tatum was able to do yesterday. But what you need from Markkanen is for him to get a lot of shots and make a lot of shots. That 18 rebounds he got in night one against Charlotte, or 17 rebounds, I don't think that's normal. I think he's going to be closer to 7 to 12 rebounds a night. And last night he took 15 shots, made 4 of them, and almost all of them were 3-point shots. So the Raptors have been a decent perimeter defense. And if Siakam is guarding Markkanen, I'm not super interested in Markkanen here because Siakam is only a couple $100 more. So kind of an easy 1v1 situation in the same game. Otto Porter yesterday, I think he was on a 20-minute limit, 20-minute restriction. Yeah, 20. I think he was on 20 minutes and he played 21 minutes. So we'll see if they're trying to continue that trend here. It sounds like he's on kind of rest management, which makes sense. So you might see this type of minute restrictions on back-to-back series because he played more in game one, but it wasn't night two or night one of a back-to-back. So we might see him continue that trend here as they try to preserve him going forward. Moving on to the next game here, Indiana Pacers at the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs were one of the slowest paced teams in basketball last year. So far, they're kind of continuing that trend. We showed it earlier that, again, every team only played one game, but them and the Magic did not do wonders for pace, and they also did not do wonders for scoring in real points as the Cavs scored 85 total points, which is just like not what you want. The Pacers are a team that I love a lot from a just individual standpoint. I love a lot of these guys as super talented players. I really think this is a team I would make on NBA 2K if I had like the 18th pick. Like I would just make this super solid all around team. I think the pace is gonna shave a lot of the upside off of the Pacers here. But what we saw from the Pacers in their first game was that a lot of guys were able to coexist and be solid value plays. So you look at Malcolm Brogdon to start with. He's 6,500 here. He had a slow start. I think he only had like 6 fantasy points in the first quarter of that game against Detroit, but ended up playing 36 minutes. Had a double double with points and assists, 45 fantasy points, and he's the same price. So I think there's room, obviously room to pay off his current price tag at 65, and we could live with 36 on a mass slate. And the Pacers are one of the teams that are not on night two of a back to back. So I don't have to overthink about dead legs or whatever early in the season. Same with T.J. Warren, Jeremy Lamb, and Domantas Sabonis. T.J. Warren only had 12 that game in 34 minutes. Lamb, who has a Q tag on him, by the way, he's got a hip pointer. He scored 20 and a half in that game. Let me see if he's got an official tag that might put him closer to out than in. Because if he's out, that would certainly boost my love for Brogdon and maybe start flirting with Edmund Sumner or maybe an Aaron Holiday. Lamb was unable to practice Thursday and was limited in practice on Friday. If he's unable to suit up on Saturday, Edmund Sumner, Doug McDermott, and Justin Holiday, I guess they mean, yeah, Justin Holiday, would be candidates to take over some of those minutes. So, another name to jot down. To watch. And then Sabonis. So I like Sabonis and I like Malcolm Brogdon. Sabonis at 7,500 individually can pay off that price point with 40 plus easily. I would like a better paced matchup that might create a couple more peripherals. I think the possession count on this game is going to be lower than I want it. But I certainly think as a guy who's probably going to get a steady 35 minutes a game, can do just well and probably give us a double-double in this matchup. He also had 5 fouls in those 36 minutes. He'll be up against Kevin Love, and I think he'll be fine. Miles Turner again, 6,300. No warm-up fuzzies there. The first two guys I really look at are Brogdon and Sabonis. Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm still waiting for the right spot for me to play Kevin Love. At 8,400, I mean, Pascal Siakam, 8,500. So on a 1v1, I don't think there's ever a time I walk away with Love over Siakam in their individual matchups and situations and minutes. But Love is a guy that can be a 40, 50 points type of guy on the right night. I just need him to be in the right matchup, and I don't know that this is the right matchup. That's 8-4. If he was 7-4, I might have a different tune here. But at 8-4, I feel like 40 is not overwhelming. Opening night, Kevin Love against the Magic, 40.5 fantasy points. Magic, I guess the Magic are, I don't know, man. I feel like the Pacers aren't a bad defense either. Let's go to defensive efficiency early on here. Orlando is the number one defense, and Indiana got bodied by Andre Drummond in a tough spot. Indiana currently is the second worst defensive efficiency, but that could be really, really, really noisy. Last season, Indiana had the third best defensive efficiency. There has been a lot of cosmetic changes. Picking up Brogdon, who I don't think is a terrible defender. Picking up T.J. Warren, who I don't think is a terrible defender. Picking up Jeremy Lamb. So, I mean, their whole three of their starting five is pretty different. So we'll kind of see. Maybe we'll just kind of compromise in the middle. How much Kevin Love? I mean, I still think just on a points per dollar, or even just a raw points, I feel like I would project Pascal Siakam to have the higher floor here. Love got 18 rebounds against the Magic. All right, guys, I might warm up to Kevin Love by the end of the day. Check back with me on the Twitch stream. I might warm up just a little bit on some Kevin Love, just because he could do it. He could do it. Let's move on to another game here that should be one of the more popular fantasy targets of the day. The New Orleans Pelicans, night two of a back-to-back against the rested and avengeful Houston Rockets, who started their season off to a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks, uh, with Giannis Antetokounmpo basically missing all of the fourth quarter. So this game should be super fun because the Pelicans push the pace, and we know that Russell Westbrook and James Harden can soak up a lot of peripherals. Names sticking out here on the Pelican side. I think Brandon Ingram was the first guy we have to really consider. I've been kind of playing him against my will, more so based on minutes than anything else. But 31 minutes last night, 35 minutes against Toronto, 46 and 41.75 fantasy points. Certainly feels like he'll have to be a big part of this Pelicans team if they want to stay afloat, right? Took 20 shot attempts yesterday, 19 in game one. We expect a lot of shots in this game. If you guys don't watch a whole lot of Houston Rockets basketball, they like to take threes and dunks or layups. They don't like mid-range shots. So there's going to be a lot of shots, a lot of high-paced basketball, and a lot of potential rebounds to go around. You might even see Brandon Ingram fall into a double-double with rebounds. So we'll be watching that. He's the first name that kind of sticks out. Drew Holiday's interesting if he's going to catch the defensive stylings of Westbrook or Harden. But through two games, he has not been super interesting at 8,500, 29 exactly in both games. Played more minutes in game one, obviously overtime. Game two, 2 for 11 from the field. Got you your stats there, your 2 steals, your 8 assists, your 4 boards. Just did not do much in way of real points. So I don't know that Drew Holiday is going to float to the top of a lot of people's short list. But minutes against the Rockets could equal money here. I think it more so comes down to your game script and if you trust and believe in the Pelicans to keep this game close. Louisiana or New Orleans to Houston is probably one of the shortest trips from back-to-backs on this slate. But it's more so the pace they play to have to overnight it and then go against a rested team that features James Harden and Russell Westbrook. So if you think they stay close, I think Drew Holiday is a reason. Lonzo Ball is on the south side of 6K. As we saw again last night, it just seems like he's not really the guy they trust to close out. Did get more minutes last night and was over a point per minute last night, and that's what you want to see. 6 for 16, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 15 points. I could put him on my list here, but I'm still not sure I trust what's going on. But what we have seen in 2 games of sample size is Josh Hart, who was 32 on night 1, 32 on night 2, and now he's 36. And in both games, he surpassed 30 fantasy points. And I feel like this guy is more game script proof than anything. Because if you think this double-digit spread pushes the blowout unit on the court, I feel like Josh Hart is going to be out there with a mop and clean it up. I love Hart because he's not your typical guard, man. This guy is a grinder, a stat stuffer. He had 9 rebounds last night, 10 on opening night. He plays aggressive defense, which could be a problem against James Harden. 5 fouls yesterday in those 26 minutes. So even then, I have to look at Popcorn Machine tomorrow. Those 5 fouls in 26 minutes kind of coincide with Lonzo Ball getting some more minutes. I wonder. But Josh Hart, man, he's going to be in the top of my value chart again. He just is. I'm going to go back to the well on him and see what happens. Favors on a back-to-back is not something I'm in love with, but we shall see. If they do any secret squirrel stuff with Favors, maybe we'd open up Okafor or Melly, right? Nicolo Melly, 14 to 20 minutes. Maybe he would benefit if something crazy like Favors rested on night 2 of a back-to-back, which is what we've seen him do with the Jazz happens. So just speculating. There's literally nothing out there that suggests that could happen. It's just something that we've seen with him in years past. And then on the Rocket side, Daniel House drew the start for the Rockets. Sounds like he could be their starter, which leaves Eric Gordon off the bench. Now, if you just paid attention to the far right column for Gordon, 13 fantasy points was not what you want, but the volume of shots, he took 19 shots, and that led the entire team in shot attempts. He starts making a couple more of those shots, and I think in this matchup, it's doesn't that's not unreasonable. It took 12 3-point attempts, by the way. One of these days he's gonna mess around and hit a couple shots on accident. It is a revenge game. It's in Houston though. Maybe he messes around and gets there. I think 46 is still not like something I'm going out of my way to jam in a lineup, but the potential opportunity cost could be a little low for a guy whose usage is probably higher or going to be higher on this coming off the bench with the second unit, especially while Gerald Green is down. So I don't mind looking at Eric Gordon, but I do think he's obviously going to come with a big risk. But I think 20 plus real points from Eric Gordon, those type of games are going to be coming. And honestly, I wouldn't. I know like Luke Will's a lock to get it, but like I wouldn't be surprised if Eric Gordon's name was like in top 5 for 6 man of the year if he played the whole season off the bench. I just wouldn't. PJ Tucker, I think, is somebody I don't hate. I liked him on night one against the Bucks, a faster paced matchup. Took double digit shot attempts. Again, the way the Rockets play, they want either threes or layups, dunks. He took 8 threes out of his 10 shot attempts for 29 fantasy points, 7 rebounds. I think rebounds are certainly going to be in full supply against a second night New Orleans Pelicans team that is really, really, really hurting for bigs in their front court. No Zion, no Randall, no AD, guys like that. So if Tucker has if Tucker has a double double, it certainly would stand to reason. And then same song and dance for Capella. I haven't really paused and talked about Westbrook and Harden, but guys, I'm playing Westbrook and Harden. Westbrook at 9,100 on DraftKings is just absolutely despicable. Like what? Like what? He only went up $200 after he almost triple doubled against the Bucks. If you think that Drew Holiday is a scrappy defender, and you're a coach, and you got to put Drew Holiday on either Russell Westbrook or James Harden, you're 100% putting him on James Harden. Not that a man on the planet can stop James Harden, but you get what I'm saying. It might funnel just that much more usage to Westbrook, and I think 9,100 is just disrespectful. I think 50 fantasy points I'm happy with all day long, all day strong, and he can absolutely go back there and drop another 60 plus fantasy points. And James Harden missed quite a few shots in that opening game, 2 for 13. Makes a couple more of those shots, and it's a couple more assists maybe for Russell Westbrook, and they worked well together. I've openly been anti this notion that these two guys can't coexist and coincide. I think that's garbage. I think both these guys can come out here and give us 100 fantasy points a night, and I certainly think they can do it in this matchup against the Pelicans. So I'm going to play them, and I like the Rockets a lot. I think they're deep enough here to take stabs at. I wouldn't hate a shot at Clint Capella either, although I am worried about his rebounding upside this season versus what we've seen in years past. But this is a matchup that he should do just fine in. 12 boards. He had a double-double night one with a bunch of blocks. So I don't mind him. I don't. Next game, Spurs hosting the Washington Wizards. Wizards night 2 of a back-to-back coming from Oklahoma City, traveling across the Texas border and going all the way south to San Antonio. The Spurs, by the way, are not on night 2 of a back-to-back, so they get the rested advantage and the home field advantage, home court advantage. 218 total, 11.5 point spread in favor of Greg Popovich's San Antonio Spurs. Wizards, all of them are probably not on my radar here. Thomas Bryant had a super solid night last night. Bradley Beal was lackluster. I just don't see myself getting down with a lot of Wizards here. There is a pretty decent out list here for the Wizards here, so we might might project extra like point guard minutes um for their guard rotation. Let me pull that up. Washington. Isaiah Thomas out, Wall out. Ish Smith played 33 minutes against the Thunder. He definitely wouldn't be a sexy click, and he's 5K. I don't know if I would play Ish Smith at 5K if he got 40 minutes, so that's a rough one, right? But I can put him closer to 30 minutes here. I just don't think the Wizards are going to be anything I'm going on my way to play today, and that includes Bradley Beal. Spurs I can get a little bit more curious with. DeJounte Murray is a beast. What I'm worried about with Murray in short sample and in the short end of the next couple months is how much they run him. My man put up 41 and a half fantasy points, like really, really was knocking on the door of a potential triple-double if he played a full allotment of minutes. But because of his injury last season, I don't think they're going to push the pedal to the floor this early, considering that they have a healthy guard rotation, because they got plenty of guys that can trade being primary ball handlers. I mean, even DeMar DeRozan as one of them. But just in the kind of secondary guard conversation, Patty Mills, Derek White, Marco Bellinelli, Brent Forbes. So there's no reason to push Murray far, but I wish there was, because I would love to play him with a high level of confidence. But even early on, I might be a little tempted to take a couple of just obscure stabs at him in like giant field tournaments where he'll have low ownership and could have that what if this happened upside, right? DeRozan and Aldridge, kind of, I mean, we'll see what the field is talking about. Like maybe some other DFS media kind of like hypes them or underhypes them. I feel like if they're not projected to be owned at all at these prices, we can certainly project over 40 fantasy points in the right spot. I do. And Trey Lyles, also a guy that's really cheap in 20 minutes in a plus matchup. But none of these guys in the forefront, I think, with as deep as the San Antonio Spurs are right now and as healthy as they are and how lopsided the spread is, as long as they're healthy and they've got the secondary unit like those aforementioned guards like Rudy Gay, like DeMare Carroll, Jakob Poeltl is still lurking. So I'm not sure that these guys are going to be priority plays for me here. But at under 8K, Aldridge and DeRozan could individually pay off their fantasy tags without an issue. 35 minutes for Aldridge in game one. You give me 35 minutes of Aldridge against the Wizards. Likely competes for a potential double with rebounds. And DeRozan, 32 minutes in game one. Didn't do a whole lot. Shot 3 for 10. I don't think, as long as DeJounte Murray is there, I don't think they're going to be asking DeRozan to overexert himself. So no warm and fuzzies on the Spurs here, but just because of the matchup, I might have a couple obscure shots on them if I decide to go 100 or 150 lineups deep. But it would be like 5% or less home run shots. Maybe I say that, but the games on the back end of this slate are not your typical West Coast sexiness. They're really not. So maybe we'd have to overpay for a little bit of safety here. This could be one of the lower scoring slates to start the season after a couple of high nights. Sacramento Kings at the Utah Jazz. Kings, night 2 of a back-to-back. You guys know of any YouTube channels that went on a whole tirade about the Kings being +2 against the Portland Trailblazers last night? The Blazers -2. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And, of course, I was right, because I'm never wrong, ever. Not once have I ever ever been wrong. I don't know, but Kings, tough spot here again. Night 2 of a back-to-back. Kind of like the Suns situation. Utah does have altitude involved, right? And Utah is a pretty decent defense here. Utah maybe didn't make the biggest of splashes last night against the Lakers. But for what it's worth, the Lakers scored under 100 points. And that's not something I expect the Lakers to do a lot. I still think the Jazz are an elite defense. They just did not convert buckets last night. I think more people are walking away from that Lakers game talking about how good the Lakers defense was, because the Utah Jazz turned the ball over like 22 times with their normal crew. I think they're gonna fix that, and I think they can get right here against the Kings. But yeah, both teams on night two of a back to back. Out of the Jazz side, if you're a Jazz fan or somebody that watched the Jazz get Mike Conley, or even a former Memphis fan, Mike Conley is off to like a historically bad shooting start. I think he was 1 for 15, 1 for 16 in opening night. Last night he shot 3 for 11. His shots are not hitting right now, and it's really costing them the game. Donovan Mitchell was able to muscle through on night one against the Thunder and help the Jazz win that game. And like I said, the Jazz are able to hold opposing teams to under 100 points. But I don't think you're going to win a whole lot of games when your original max contract point guard is shooting 10% and not even 10% sometimes, right? Um, so Donovan Mitchell sticks out as a guy that I like here, just because Conley in the past has been injury prone and kind of protected on back to backs. Again, I'm just speculating here, but Mitchell is a young gun, night two of a back to back, under 8K in a fast paced matchup, should be able to thrive against the Lakers. Mitchell. Over 40 fantasy points, 34 minutes played, 24 real points scored, and a couple peripherals. I think it's a good spot to go get him. We saw a little bit of a different Utah Jazz lineup when Bojan Bogdanovic was ruled out. They actually pushed Royce O'Neal to the bench for the start of the game. Started Joe Ingles and Jeff Green. Maybe they play with that a little bit based on matchup here. Maybe they want Royce O'Neal back in the starting rotation or what have you. But we'll see. I'm just speculating. Maybe even Bojan plays, but I don't know for sure. So that's going to be an injury that we add to the list to watch today. Rudy Gobert, 8,200. I think this is a spot that I can go get him. I've been waiting for the right spot for Gobert. Night one against the Thunder, I wasn't too enthused. And night two against the Lakers, I wasn't too enthused with AD and whatnot. But I think this game could offer 15 plus rebound potential, a lot of block potential. Absolutely loved Hassan Whiteside last night. And while Whiteside wasn't like a slate breaking play, he only got 40 fantasy points. He only played 26 minutes. And in those 26 minutes, on top of those 22 real points, he had 9 rebounds and a block and a steal. And I think 9 rebounds is something that Rudy Gobert might have in the first half. Like, Rudy Gobert is likely to play maybe 10 more minutes than Whiteside anyway. Whiteside had 22 last night, so Rudy Gobert give him 30 to 34 minutes and a neutral to positive game script. And right now they're favored. They're likely going to be large favorites here. I think this is a spot where Gobert can get 40 to 50, and we might see the block column really come into play. This stifle tower should be able to thrive in this spot. So give me a double-double for sure from Rudy Gobert here. 8,200. Love the matchup. Love it a lot. And then Donovan Mitchell. So Gobert and Mitchell for me. And then based on Bojan Bogdanovic's status or lack thereof, I might be looking at some of these secondary plays for value, like deep tournament shots on like a Jeff Green or maybe an Ingles. But Mitchell and Gobert right now stand out. And maybe there's a game that Conley starts hitting these shots, right? He didn't just forget basketball, hopefully. And maybe Kings could be a get-right spot for him, and he would be the ultra tournament play after his horrendous start to the season. Wouldn't it just be DFS if Conley showed up with 60 fantasy points? So I would definitely have some tournament leverage shares of him, even if it's just 5% of 150 or something like that, just because that is certainly a hashtag DFS spot if he played. I do think there's a chance that they could be a workload management situation for him, especially after his start. Now in baseball, when a hitter slumps, they bench him for a game, let him reset. In basketball, you tend to see coaches want the players to shoot their way through it. So we'll see if that's the approach that Snyder takes here for the Jazz. On the Kings side, I don't want to get trolled by some Luke Walton back-to-back nonsense, but I feel like it's coming. Last night, Buddy Hield played 32 minutes with that flat tire, shot 7 for 18. De'Aaron Fox, 34 minutes, also shot 7 for 18, had 43 fantasy points, put a couple peripherals on his 28 real points. I think I think the Blazers is an okay defense. I think the Jazz is an elite defense. So I'm not excited to take as many chances on the Kings tonight as I was last night. Nemanja Bjelica likely to continue to be a trendy play in the absence of Marvin Bagley and Harry Giles. But Bjelica didn't really rock your socks off yesterday. Had 20.75 fantasy points, but he did have 9 real points and 7 boards. So it wasn't that far from a double-double, and it was 28 minutes, and the game kind of got away. So I don't think this is an optimal matchup for him to really surpass value at 4K. But I also think that this might be a lower scoring slate overall. So we might be okay with settling for 5x from a 1 or 2 of the 3 to 4K players. Bogdan Bogdanovic kind of turned up a little bit. If you played him night 1 and didn't go back and get your money, man, you should have. He basically matched what Buddy Hield put up. 29 minutes for him, 16 real points. And then no one else was really somebody you had to have. Maybe Rashawn Holmes was another good play. 21 fantasy points, 17 minutes, but not a deep minute count there. Dwayne Dedmon, I got him at 16 fantasy points. I thought he scored more than that. Somebody was asking me how much Dedmon I had. I thought it was because Dedmon was going off, but I got him down for 16 right now, so I guess it wasn't that much of an impact. I'm way more on the Jazz here than I am on the Kings, but yikes. I mean, these late games are pretty yucky, y'all. I think a lot of the juice is the early games and the Rockets game. So I'm typically a guy that likes a late night hammer, so what do you say we dive into this Clippers-Suns game and try to find that? Before we do that, just one more reminder that today at 3 p.m. Eastern, over at twitch.tv/Gundacker99, myself and probably Raj will be live on the airwaves having some fun on a Saturday afternoon, chopping up today's NBA slate. It does feel like on a back-to-back. We're going to have some news to deal with this afternoon. And so we'll react to that. We'll digest that, try and make some decisions, some smart decisions. And maybe we'll talk about some of the big winners from the camp last night that did really well. So make sure you guys get set up on Twitch. That way when we go live, it's an easier process for you. You guys can jump in that chat. All you got to do is make an account, follow the channel, and boom, it's that simple. You get in there. Usually I'll start the stream 10 minutes before 3, so like at 2:50 p.m. Eastern, I'll probably have the stream on, playing some music. That way, your connection is good or you're ready to go. We don't like to play with technical difficulties if we can help it. Main event tonight: Phoenix Suns, night 2 of a back-to-back, hosting the Los Angeles Clippers. So earlier in this video, I probably misspoke. I think I definitely did. I said the Suns were coming from Denver to LA, and going from altitude to closer to sea level. Well, they're going back to Phoenix, so I'm an idiot. But I still think they are gonna get smacked here. And when I looked at Vegas a minute ago, let me check labs here. Vegas had 9. They had the Clippers -9. The Clippers, which has been an elite defense, who have flexed their muscles on night 1 and night 2 against the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, winning both of those games by over 9, are 9-point favorites against the Phoenix Suns on night 2 of a back-to-back, coming out of Denver without their rookie center DeAndre Ayton. I feel like I would take a chance on that. Good spot here for the Clippers. I think everyone that you would ever play from the Clippers is way too cheap individually. For what it's worth, I did think that the Suns would get smoked in Denver without Ayton, and they pushed it to overtime. So, maybe the Suns are just here to prove me wrong, and they're going to fight, and they're going to battle. But Kawhi at 8-9, even though he hasn't just wowed us because he hasn't had to, none of these games have been ultra competitive. 40 and 48 fantasy points, under 9K, I'll take it. I will say if I had a util spot and I needed to spend 9 around 9K. Russell Westbrook at $200 more is probably where I'm going with that. But the other guys that really stick out for me is going to be Lou Williams. First of all, he pulled him off the bench, and then Montrezl Harrell. It's probably my favorite combo in basketball. Montrezl Harrell's been a little bit more less than stellar than Lou Will, but Lou Will under 7K on this type of slate where I need a late night hammer, I like it a lot. 29 minutes against Golden State. Game was pretty lopsided, but he still put up 40 fantasy points with 20 real points, and he's playing like a true point guard. He has got 7 and 8 assists in his first 2 games, and in game 1, which was a little bit more neutral, he played 37 minutes. So this team is making up for the lack of Paul George and no point guard depth here by just using Lou Williams as a point guard. So I love Lou Williams at 6.8. I feel like he should have earned a little bit bigger price hike, and I'll overpay a couple hundred if his floor is 35 or whatever. But I like him a lot in this spot. I think he should do just fine and probably get another streak of 20 real points, and set the table for his 6th Man of the Year campaign. Patrick Patterson's not a fun click. I actually thought there was a chance he could not start the last game against Golden State. I thought that maybe there was a reason that he only started against the Lakers to maybe take a bullet against AD. But he started against Golden State and he played 28 minutes and he had 20 real points for 27 fantasy points, and he stayed at the exact same price. Now I don't think we should expect 20 real points from Patrick Patterson a lot. But if getting near 28 minutes is a range of outcome for Patterson, I certainly am not scared to go back to the well. The Clippers do have JaMychal Green and Montrezl Harrell. That would be part of the rotation. JaMychal Green has been a foul issue early on. 3 fouls in 16 minutes, 3 fouls in 19 minutes. We've seen him be foul prone in the past. He's not quite a Marquise Chris, but gosh darn it, he's close. And then Montrezl Harrell, who I love running with Lou Williams, that their pick and roll is unstoppable. 25 minutes against Golden State, 38 minutes against the Lakers, 6,200. You get me to the north side of 30, I feel like you were worth the risk. But a couple of these games, he's going to break out for 40 plus, and I also wonder if games really get out of hand. Would he be able to go out there and be part of the kill him crew? I don't know that Doc Rivers has him that low, but I love this matchup. I love the pace for them here, and I definitely think this is an upside spot that could get the best out of Montrezl Harrell. And what do you say we keep speculating about teams, right? Just out of curiosity, do the Clippers play on Sunday? No. Darn. I was going to see if the Clippers played Sunday, because I feel like they could beat the Suns without Kawhi, but I don't have to go down that road because they play again Monday, then they play Wednesday, so they don't have to worry about back-to-backs for a minute, and so I'm not going to speculate that they're out. And then lastly, hey, how about Ivica Zubac? Just for tournaments. Big-time play. I think he got the shock of the night 2 nights ago. 35 fantasy points for him against Golden State. 9 the game prior against the Lakers. He did all that in 18 minutes. This is the type of guy that if you take a shot on in deep tournaments, it's going to pay off a couple times. It is a fine matchup. We're definitely not going to compare him to Jokic or anything like that, but we have seen this guy be a point per minute monster since his start with the Lakers, and now on the Clippers. He has shown that upside in at least one of his 2 games so far. So I wouldn't mind some deep field tournament shots on him. Not something I'm running to in a short field, but Patrick Patterson is probably somebody I'm going to have more of than I ever should have at this juncture. No Suns for me, but I don't hate Kelly Oubre. I think Devin Booker is going to get Beverly and Kawhi, and this is just not going to be pleasant at 8,700. Ricky Rubio at 6.6, kind of also feel like this is not a smash spot. Again, Suns coming out of Denver here. But Kelly Oubre, I feel like, has a price point to float under and kind of be forgotten about. He fouled out last night. I think, to start overtime. So we played 37 minutes. I believe that's in regulation, and then 30 minutes on opening night. So 6K for these type of minutes. I don't think they're high valuable minutes in this spot, but he hasn't gone up enough in price for me to be able to just ignore him. Especially if I think that, if we take out Booker with a Bev and a Kawhi, and we take out DeAndre Ayton because he likes to pee. Kelly Oubre is like next man up, I think, in terms of scoring, and maybe Dario Saric in that same breath. So Oubre could be an uncomfortable click, but he could be somebody that we play just based on the minutes equal money type of thing. All right. Anyway, that's your first look at today's slate. Again, if we have to summarize, there's a lot of back to backs. There's a lot of potential for news, injuries, even some rest, even though it's early. So we are going to circle the wagons back this afternoon and just kind of spitball and dive deeper live this afternoon on Twitch. And hopefully we'll have more data compiling quicker and faster as more and more games get under our belt. But this has been a super hot start to the NBA season. I'm excited to keep making this money. And I don't know if I'll have a video for Sunday, guys. So Saturday night, we do the NFL chat at the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. So I tend to be pretty anchored down in my, just having time to do a video. And then Sunday, there's games, but they're pretty spread out. Sunday is Warriors at Thunder in the afternoon, Nets at Grizzlies at 5, Heat at T-Wolves, Blazers at the Mavs, and Hornets at Lakers. So I don't even know how the sites would chop this up because they tend to like to start at 6 anyway. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a slate worth playing for me anyway, and I'll just be super focused on football. So what do you say we come back Monday? Come back for Monday, I guess. I don't know. I guess I probably don't do a NBA preview video tomorrow. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm blabbering. Hey, if you guys want to help me out, give me a thank you for these videos. You can hit that thumbs up. I would certainly appreciate it. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. We are on a very long grind to 5K. Like I said, I don't know what I did to YouTube for them to hate me. They got me a whole bunch of copyright strikes and community guideline strikes. So I'm really have to bust my tail out here for a couple hundred views. But I don't mind it because I love this and I love all you guys that have been super loyal. So if you guys want to keep helping me out, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you have that notification bell clicked and that you've hit that thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll be back this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Gundacker99. Link is in the description below. I love each and every one of you. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.